Let's see. You need it? Yeah, I guess. Don't need it? Yeah. Before the special ceremony begins, I want to share this quote with you. It's from Sherry Turnbull, an Inuit artist living in Charlottetown. And I quote, "It started when it was first discovered that 215 children did not make it home. These children and so many others should never have been taken and should never have had to face the unimaginable things that they did. We need to remember that what happened was unspeakable abuse that resulted in neglect, malnourishment, and a failure to treat sick children, which ultimately ended in death. So many children would run away from these schools, but they could not find their way home. They would eventually be caught, brought back, and seriously punished at the hands of those who were supposed to protect them. All they wanted was to go home." 2 residential boarding schools operated in the Sandwich Bay region. The first one was built in Muddy Bay in 1920, and that was in operation until 1928, when it was burned to the ground by 2 students. After the 1918 Spanish influenza, there were many children in Sandwich Bay who lost a parent, and in many cases, they lost several family members, and they had no one to care for them. A boarding school should have been a good thing. Sadly, for many, it was not. The second residential school was built in Cartwright and operated from 1930 until 1964. Children were picked up by boat from the many bays and inlets along the Labrador coast. They came from as far north as Rigolette and as far south as Seal Islands. At this residential school, many experienced abuse, neglect, hardship, and discrimination. It began the moment they were taken from their family, from their culture, from their community. Let us remember the words of Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly." There's been very little reconciliation for the residential school survivors of Sandwich Bay. They are seniors now, and many still carry the scars of their time in these boarding schools. The mental, physical, and sexual abuse that so many suffered as children continues to haunt them to this day. And many first and second generational children are living with the effects of their parents' emotional traumas. It is only fair to state here that not every child was abused in these residential schools. There are those who are happy to have received some form of education. But in all honesty, it's very difficult to focus on this one aspect when so many lives were destroyed and so many families were torn apart. When you take a child and put him or her into an institution for 10 months of the year, and sometimes for as long as 9 or 10 years, those children are going to have issues. Research has shown that all these children experience separation from their birth parents. They experience high rates of insecure attachment, which includes social and emotional neglect when it comes to caregiver-child interactions. One of the survivors explained it this way, and I quote, "They had lost their sense of self. They had lost their sense of place." While many lives were traumatized, with first and second generations still suffering the effects of continued abuse and addictions, there evolved a strength and a resilience for many of these survivors. We are witnessing that today with these precious seniors before you who are representative of residential school survivors. These seniors are giving back to their community 100%. They are the most active, caring group in the region. Some have overcome many challenges in their lives that were brought on as a result of attending these residential schools or through family attachment. They are drumming side by side with three beautiful young ladies, all three of whom are second-generational survivors, and who have taken to the Inuit drum like it was meant to be. Once again, I share this quote taken from a book written by Andrea Proctor. It's about residential school experiences, soon to be released, and entitled, Our Time Over There. And I quote, "Residential school survivors have told the truth. Residential school survivors need to be believed. Residential school survivors want to begin the journey of reconciliation." Just a few short months ago, and for the first time in our history, these survivors were inspired to come together as a group of residential school drum dancers to share their story. With help from our very own Sherry Penny, they began the journey of reclaiming what was taken from so many as children. For the very first time, each one of them took a drum in her hand, and it was a beautiful sight to behold. And just a few short weeks ago, these young people joined us and took the drum for the first time, and they never looked back. And now, as of yesterday, we have been joined with Sherry and two of her Labrador West drum dancers. This will indeed become an all-encompassing Labrador initiative. These survivors are beginning the journey of reconciliation, a journey of healing through the shared cultural experience of the Inuit drum dance, a dance of celebration, a dance of hope. I'm just going to take an extra minute now, and I'm going to introduce each of the drum dancers here tonight. We haven't done that yet, so it's time that we did. The first one is Emma Williams, second generational survivor. Our regular leader, Sandra Mugford, was called away just last week on a family matter, and Emma wanted to give it a try. She took on that responsibility like a true leader, and she did a wonderful job. Next one. Phoebe Davis. Phoebe is a first generational survivor. Sue Curl, a first generational survivor. Priscilla Clark, first generation survivor. And Margaret Tumishi, residential school survivor, 9 years at Lockwood. Jessica Burdett, second generational survivor, and she's going to be our guiding light as we prepare to leave the area in a moment. Wait. And then we have Morgan Elson. She's also a second generational survivor, and she took charge of the youth group dance, and she also did a wonderful job. And then we have our new additions, wonderful people. The first one is Katie Simmons, third generational survivor. And Sydney Henderson, third generational survivor. And dear Sherry Penny, she's our second generational survivor. All 5 youth, just like their senior counterparts, are very determined, very responsible, and very inspired. And me, I'm not a residential school survivor, but as Sherry Penny assured me, I am indeed their biggest supporter. And after that prize that you people gave me tonight, I don't know, I just might go and join them, you know. But anyway, thank you to Nunatuavut. Thank you, members. Nakamik.